Hi, I'm Chris Miles. I'm the Programme Leader for the BA Honours in Marketing Communication and associated programmes. Okay, so I'm going to tell you today a little bit about the programme and the programmes inside it, or kind of underneath its umbrella. I'm going to try and squeeze something that I usually do in 50 minutes down into 20 minutes. So I might be a little bit rushing at certain points. Please forgive me. Okay, so these are the 4 programs in what we call the suite of marketing communication programs. So we've got the BA Honours Marketing Communication, and then we have the marketing communication with advertising, with public relations, and then with digital media. I'm going to explain a little bit about how these programs all work together, how they link together, etc. Over the next few minutes. So the kind of important thing right at the beginning to kind of get over is the idea that no matter which one of these you at the moment think you might want to do, everyone gets registered on the top one initially. Okay, so the BA Honours Marketing Communication, that's the program that everyone actually ends up signing up for and ends up coming into. You then choose which special program or specialised program you want to do after or towards the end of the first year. So I'll talk about how that works a little bit later. So everyone enrolls on the marketing communication degree. The reason that we do this is because it provides flexibility for you and for us, and then also for your potential employers, like industry. So you might now think that you know what advertising is and you know what public relations is, although to be honest with you, people have been arguing about the difference between public relations, propaganda, advertising, promotion, and all these things for decades and decades and decades, and many people still can't agree. But we tend to think that really, you can't make a good decision, having all the information in front of you as to what you want to specialise in, do your degree in, and then what you want to how you want to target yourself in terms of your career, which might be the rest of your working life. You can't really do that right now, kind of before you got to university, before you've really even had the experience of what these things kind of might mean. So the first year, everyone gets the same common marketing communication knowledge. And that includes exposure to what advertising is, how it works within marketing communication, what PR is, and how it works with marketing communication, etc. To what extent digital is kind of part of marketing communication, what it really means when we say digital marketing communication. So you get this kind of in your first year, so that then towards the end of your first year you can make an informed decision. This also means that kind of people who might be employing you on your placement year or after your degree, we know that they can rely upon you having a certain basic, no matter which program you've gone through, you'll all have the same basic understanding of marketing communication, the same foundational knowledge. So that's why we have that kind of first foundational year that everyone does in common, because there's stuff that everyone needs to know across, whether you're going to specialise in advertising or PR. And most of that involves and revolves around the idea of what marketing communication is within business, how it relates to marketing more broadly, and what it means as a kind of a strategic management function, what marketing communication really means. So by the time you need to make a choice, you'll have had enough experience, and there's also a lot of other support that goes into explaining to you when you're on that first year as to what the significance is of you making various different decisions as to which program you go on to. So you'll have a lot of support with that anyway, but you make that decision towards the end of the first year. Okay, so that kind of orientates you a little bit in terms of the programs inside our marketing communication suite, and to orientate you a little kind of physically in terms of where we sit within the university, within Bournemouth University. So the programs are within the Communication and Journalism Department of Communication and Journalism, and the Department of Communication and Journalism sits within the Faculty of Media and Communication, which is a leading European, kind of like real massive kind of enviable international, indeed, not just European reputation. And all of the programs within the Faculty of Media and Communication are focused on the idea of giving students the tools to be productive professionals, but also innovative professionals. So it's not just about teaching you the tools and the techniques and the processes in order to get you a job, but it's more than that. It's about teaching you ways of looking and thinking and giving you the context and background so that you can become innovative professionals, not just following what everyone else has been doing, but blazing the way. So that's what all of our courses are really focused on in the Faculty of Media and Communication. And it speaks a little bit as to why you should be doing this at university, because that's what the university can give you, rather than a purely technical kind of education or an apprentice-like education. It will give you a much broader intellectual context so that you can become the thought leaders of the profession that you choose. All right, so thinking again about a different type of context, marketing communication exists within marketing. So what is marketing? And a lot of people who are making their choices about what to do at university, they'll have heard of marketing, because you can't really avoid hearing about marketing. You certainly can't avoid being exposed to marketing, but then perhaps not very sure about what really marketing is, and therefore what marketing communication might be. So generally, in any kind of introductory situation, I tend to always fall back on this thing, which is the definition of marketing from the American Marketing Association, the AMA. A very important global influencer in terms of how we think about marketing at universities, but also how we think about marketing internationally in terms of the profession. So anyway, they've got a definition. This is a definition they've been using for the last, more than it's almost coming up to 20 years now. So it's not a great definition in the sense of you wouldn't want to memorize it and then recite it at parties. But it's a great definition in the sense that it gets really at the heart of what marketing is. So marketing is the activity, the set of institutions and the processes for creating, communicating, delivering and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners and society at large. Now this is not the AMA's red highlighting, this is my red highlighting, because I always tend to do this. This is the most important word in the whole definition. It's all about value. Marketing is about value, and very importantly, marketing is about creating value. And that means creating value where no value existed before, or only a small amount of value existed before. So it's about creating value, communicating that value. It's also about delivering that value. And this is in a way where things, where marketing is different from marketing communication. Marketing includes the study of what we call the supply chain and the distribution chain. So how you get all the things that you're going to be, into your factory that you're going to be making your products from, or how you get all the relationships basically that you're going to be making your service from, and then how you deliver those products and services. So actually how you get them into shops, how you get them out to people, etc. So that's called the distribution chain. Then you've got the supply chain as well. Now, marketing communication is not really concerned with those things. Marketing communication is very much concerned with these first two things here, the creation and the communication of value. So what does that mean? Well, a good example, often used by Steve Jobs, so you can't really go wrong there, is Nike. And Nike's kind of real, very clear understanding of what marketing does. So if you think about it, a Nike pair of sneakers, you might pay £150 for a pair of Nike sneakers. Maybe Nike speakers as well, but let's say Nike sneakers. So £150 for a pair of Nike sneakers, and even being quite generous, most of those sneakers probably are only costing Nike around £20 to £25. That's being really generous. So in terms of getting all the stuff together and then putting them in the factories and then getting from the factory to the shops, all that kind of stuff, and also the marketing on top. I mean, there's a very big difference between how much it actually costs Nike for some of their sneakers and then how much they're actually charging, or more importantly, how much people are willing to pay. So why are you willing to pay £150 for a pair of Nike sneakers when they've only perhaps £20, £25 cost that to be made? Why have you not gone to Amazon and got the cut price sneakers from some kind of Chinese factory that you can find on Amazon, this type of thing, that might look pretty close to the Nike sneakers and in fact also might last as long as the Nike sneakers? It's possible. But why are you going to pay, rather than 25 quid, why are you going to pay £150? That's where the value, you see the value in that. That value has been created in you, in your mind, by marketing communication. So that's what marketing communication does, through the advertising, through the promotion, through the public relations, through the event sponsorship, through the player sponsorship, all of these things that Nike does and has been doing for decades. They create in your mind a sense of the value around the brand and the products related to the brand. That's what marketing does. It creates that value and communicates to it. That's marketing communication. So that's a job. That's what the program's about. And no matter where you specialize, in a way, it's just a particular specialized area around that creation of value and communication of value. So brands like these, Marks and Spencer's, Apple, British Airways, Coca-Cola, etc., they're all in the business of selling things, products and services that people perceive as having extra value. Why do you shop in Marks and Spencer's rather than Aldi? Okay, so what's the difference? The difference comes down to a perception of value. And that value is not just about price. That value is about something else. You buy something else when you go to Marks and Spencer's. What's the difference between an Apple computer and a similarly spec'd Dell, which might cost about £400, £500 less? It's that value. And it's that value that's being communicated to you through the vast marketing communication that Apple has done. All of these brands are also brands that our students have worked at placements as well, which is the reason I got them up here. Okay, so there are other programs out there, even within Bournemouth University, that focus perhaps a little bit on marketing and marketing communication, have some component. And you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't I do one of those? So let me just go through what makes us different. So this little graphic just gives you a very quick idea. So we're at the top, marketing communications, that's us. And then down at the bottom, it's like something like business studies. Not bottom in terms of value, but just like bottom because that's where it is in the diagram. And as you can see here, okay, we got the red bars and the blue bars. The red bars are Marcom's focus, and then the blue bars are business focus. So business focus means you'll do courses like accountancy, financial analysis, economics, broad management, maybe human resources management, organizational studies, that kind of stuff. Economics, maybe. Whereas the red stuff, the Marcom stuff, is stuff that's entirely focused on communication, marketing communication, persuasion and influence, etc., and learning how to do those in different particular professional contexts, advertising, public relations. So you can see that's what we focus on. We've got a little bit, of business-related stuff. You're not going to get any economics units or anything like that, or financial analysis or accounting units, but it's more like the business context that we set our units in. And business studies has a little bit of marketing. You might get 1 or 2 units on marketing, or maybe lucky, there might be an option choice on advertising, for example. But most of it's going to be that broad business thing. So we focus really, really strongly on the marketing communication units. That's what you're doing most of the time over your 4 years with us. So, what does that mean? Well, these are actually kind of like unit topics. So if you're doing, let's say, a BSc in marketing, so you might think, well, yeah, but marketing, you're saying that marketing is all about value. Yeah, but, there's a different way of looking at marketing, communication, or the value that marketing does on a marketing degree, and the way that we look at value in marketing communication. So we're really focused on that communications orientation. So in our degree here, these are the kinds of things that you're looking at: brand management, campaign planning, actually planning a communications campaign, communication skills, basic communication skills that then lead into things, advanced ideas like persuasion and influence. How do you persuade people to change their minds about something? Corporate communication, consumer culture. So it's all about looking at consumers and thinking about, why do they act the way they do, and how does that help us reach them and persuade them and talk to them effectively? Whereas on a straight marketing degree, like the marketing BSc that we have here at Bournemouth University, you're doing things like economics, you're thinking about the legal side of business and marketing, you're thinking about broader management skills and how they relate to marketing. You're also doing accounting, and you're doing a lot of quant kind of related work, both in the economics and then also quantitative analysis and financial analysis. Not on our programs. Okay, so we don't do those kinds of things. Okay, so let's think about the programs, how these 4 different programs in the marketing communications umbrella, the suite of programs as we call them, how they link together and work. Okay, so as I said, we've got this common first year. So everyone does the same first year on the marketing communications programs, whether you're doing advertising, Marcoms, or whether you think you want to do. Okay, so you're all registered on the marketing communications program. Even if, when you're doing a UCAS thing that you think, I think I'd like to do the advertising one, you might click it, but actually it comes down into the BA Honours Marketing Communication. And so everyone siphons into that common first year. Then, towards the end of that first year, you get to make a choice, hopefully by that time, an informed choice. So the way that we think about the 4 years that you're with us, So the first year, that common first year, it's all about giving you that foundational knowledge. The second year, after you've made your specialised choice into a particular program, advertising or PR or marketing with digital media, that second year is about applying that knowledge, thinking about how we apply it in the profession, the kind of common practices and best practices around advertising, public relations, digital marketing, etc. Then in your third year, you go out to placement. So you're not with us physically, you're basically with us, in spirit, but you're out on a placement job. That takes that year. And that we think of as the contextual year. It puts your degree in context. So you go out to actually find out how, let's say if you chose PR, and you'll be doing some placement stuff in a PR agency or doing some PR work for a company, then you will be looking and you'll be discovering how your job interacts with all the other jobs in the company. So that's what it's providing context. Then you're getting into the final year, you come back from that placement year, and the final year is about critique. So it's not just about learning what people do in the industry now, it's about looking at what they do now and thinking, can we do it better? Are there other ways of doing it? So that's very much when kind of the idea of academic research and scholarly research, as well as consumer research comes in. So that you begin to think about, what's going forward, looking forward, 5 years, 10 years in the profession, thinking about how you can then create innovation. So that common first year, okay, the thing that everyone does, what do they do? So the first semester, these are the units on it. Principles of marketing, marketing communications, giving you that basic foundational knowledge about what marketing is and how marketing communication relates to the larger discipline of marketing. We've got a contemporary debates in marketing communication as well, which is all about learning how to pitch, as we call it, which is to make a persuasive argument, really important. Whatever area of marketing communications you go into, so much of it is about persuasion and pitching. It's about persuading people that you've got the right solution, and then persuading kind of consumers to think in a particular way about products or services or brands or clients, institutions. And we do that through looking at current marketing communication output, executions, advertising campaigns and PR campaigns, and thinking about the way that they affect society. So we kind of like meld the two things, like an investigation of the way that marketing communication affects society and is perceived by society, and then using that as a platform to then learn about how to pitch, how to argue effectively, how to get up in front of an audience and persuade them one way or another. We've also got academic professional practices for marketing communications, which is where you learn how to basically work at university, how to write an essay properly, how to research properly, how to cite properly, kind of sources that you're using, what is a good source, what's a bad source, all that kind of stuff. And that also then relates to not just research and practice in university, but then we're also linking that very tightly to how that how that influences what you do in your professions, in public relations and advertising, and marketing communication in general. And then in your second semester, these are the 3 units. You got consumer and stakeholder insights, so very much then beginning to look at the first kind of insight into the consumer mind, thinking about how we research consumers and how then we can use that in marketing communication. And we've got digital essentials, so that's an introduction to the way that digital platforms are used in marketing now. And then integrated marketing communications, which is, for us, really, it's the key to how we manage marketing communications, the management job of marketing communications, how we can put together a campaign that makes advertising and public relations and other promotional forms work together in order to produce this really powerful kind of concerted campaign. So it's about integrating the different aspects of marketing communication together. It's the management function. So in the second year, then, you'll have made your choice as to which one you focus on. But that doesn't mean to say that then you're all going to go your separate ways, because we do throughout then, even up until the last year, you'll have common units which will still be with the other marketing communication pathway students. So you'll still be in some units where you're with advertising students and PR students and digital media students and marcom students. And these are the common ones that all students do, no matter their specialisation. In the second year, content creation, where you're learning how to write and think about visuals and this type of thing for all sorts of marketing communication needs. Brands and branding, which is really that introduction to the monolithic thing and the heart of a lot of marketing communication strategy nowadays, is the idea of the brand, the idea of brand value, thinking about that. and thinking about the tools that we have in order to do that brand management. And then research principles and practice, which is kind of like really getting into depth with techniques and tools to help you do market research, okay, which is the first step always in any kind of plan, marketing communication plan. And then, so those are, you do 2 of those in the first semester and then 1 of those in the second semester. And then alongside those, you then have your degree specific unit. So depending upon which pathway you've chosen in your first year. So if you've taken the marketing communications with advertising, in your second year, you also do advertising fundamentals, creative strategy, and media planning. If you've done public relations, if that's what you chose, you'll be doing public relations, influencer relations. It's not just about Instagram. It's about broadly influencers. How do we choose influencers across many different sectors and in many different media platforms, and how do we build relationships with them? PR events, because of course event planning and event creating, event management is very much an important part of the day-to-day job of PR companies and PR departments. And then live campaigns are kind of a simulation unit where you've got a particular campaign to put together. So that's with the public relations. And then, similarly, if you on the marketing communications with digital media, you've got your specialized courses looking at digital consumers, looking very much how can we find out what people are doing online in order to help us in our marketing strategy decisions. Digital media practices and media planning, very important. Media planning is also something that you'll notice advertising do. So the digital students and the advertising students do the same unit on media planning, which is about how do you understand how to make the choices as to where to reach consumers, what media, how much to buy, when to buy, on what particular platforms, and this type of thing. Very, very important part of modern advertising and a very important part of the modern digital online marketing environment. And if you're doing the marketing communications pathway, then you're doing marketing communications in a global context, thinking about how we do campaigns across regions and across countries and across different parts of the globe. Think very much also about consumer experience. You've got a unit on that. And then also you share the live campaigns unit with the PR students. So then you go into placement year, which is 30 weeks minimum. And you are eligible for a student loan in placement year. The vast majority of placements do tend to be paid, not necessarily all of them, but there are various reasons, why and this type of thing, but most of the time they are. And we provide help. We have a dedicated placements team who will help you brush up your CV, put together application packages, point you to various people who might be looking for interns. But a lot of the time on the placements year, we expect you in your second year to be coming up with ideas as to where you would like to do your placement. It should come from you. You're going to spend a year with these people. So, it should, the initial idea of what company you would like to spend your placement year in should really come from you. And we give you as much support about that. But it's important because you're going to be spending so much time there. So let's say, if you're interested in music production, you want to get into music production and marketing and music production, be a marketing manager for a record label or a production company and that kind of stuff, then, that's your interest. You're going to know the companies in let's say in the UK that are the best companies to go through at the moment. You'll be the topic expert there. So you should then decide which company you want to approach in order to get an internship. We'll help you. You tell us, we'll help you. But we do want that to be a kind of a proactive process because we want you to be interested in the place that you're going. So that's 30 weeks out, basic placement. You've got kind of a portfolio of stuff that you've got to produce by the end of it for us. But it's like, kind of a record, a reflective essay of what you've been doing, a record and some kind of various questionnaires that your managers fill out basically about how well you're doing and that kind of stuff. And these are, again, more examples of companies that students have gone out on placements recently. So, quite a large selection of national and international brands. And, you can go internationally. We have no problem with that. If you want to go to Hollywood and try and get an internship in the management section of a film company, film production company, great. Go off and do that. We're fine with you doing that. So, internationally, nationally, it's up to you. Then you come back in your final year, and the final year is the big academic year in the sense that it has this unit that runs almost across 2 semesters called the dissertation unit or dissertation academic paper consultancy unit. And that's basically a 10,000 word piece of original research. I mean, that's a really big thing, 10,000 words. You go out, you do the research as well. So you're using the tools or the research modules that you've done in order to conduct actual field research, to kind of do an original piece of research. A lot of students find that, when they're out on placement in the previous year, in the third year, they see things and they think, oh, that's weird. Why does that happen? Or why are we using this tool? Why are we using that technique? Or, my company's got real problems. Why don't I try and fix them in some way? Something that you're not able to do when you're actually an intern, but certainly then at the dissertation level, you can go back to that company and say, look, I'm going to do my dissertation on this problem that we were facing last year when I was at placement. Would that be okay? And you can often get help in terms of information and data that those companies will give you. So sometimes the dissertation could be something that very much springs from your placement. Other times it could be a topic that comes from units that you're doing in your first year back, in your final year, when you've had a number of very specialised choices that you can make and that kind of stuff. So it's a big undertaking. These are some examples of the very broad range of dissertation topics that come up. So Charles Beveridge was a student on the BA Marcoms pathway, and this is his dissertation title: Can heuristics and biases influence energy reduction in the UK domestic sector? This is something that, again, came directly from his placement. He was working in an energy company. And so he did what we call a consultancy project. So, it was, in a way, it's like a 10,000 word piece of consultancy research that he does for the company that he was at placement for. And he still has to do it within a very academic kind of framework. But it helps him, obviously, then think about getting a job back in that company when he graduates. And a lot of people think about their dissertations like that. They can be very useful, persuasive devices when you're in an interview, with a company. Say, well, I did this dissertation. It's on this particular area that your company, really needs information on, really needs expertise on. Here I am, an expert. Sally Keegan, who was on the advertising pathway, addicted to dating apps and exploration into user motivations for gamified smartphone dating applications. I mean, obviously that year, I think there were quite a few dissertations on dating apps, and the marketing use of dating apps is something that a lot of companies really are thinking about, really important. So Sally went out and did some original research on that in order to try and find out what users were thinking and how they responded to marketing communication efforts on dating apps. Janela Colley, on the public relations pathway, did a dissertation on visual neo-colonialism, which was a history of black women in US advertising. And so, we have different ways that you can do these dissertations. You can do what we call a humanities dissertation or a social sciences dissertation. Geneva did a humanities dissertation, which was more of a historical kind of piece of research. And you'll notice also, she was on the public relations pathway, but basically it's about advertising. And that's fine as well. That's quite possible. We're quite flexible with this. Dom Stevens, who was also on public relations, he did The Ides of the politicization of American late night talk shows over time and under Trump. And Dom actually interviewed a ton of scriptwriters for US late night television shows. He interviewed US senators by Skype and all this kind of stuff. He did a real great amount of field research. I think he actually got the prize at the dissertation conference for this as well. And it was a really, really great kind of investigation into the way that US late night talk shows are having a political communication component, or have come to have a political communication component, and what that means for politics, and obviously therefore the job of public relations, because public relations includes certain aspects of political marketing, political communication as well, obviously. So that gives you an example of the kind of dissertations that people do in their final year. Very broad range. Also on your final year, then you're choosing. You've got a series of units that you can choose, but you also have your core specialised degree units as well. So if you're doing advertising in your final year, you're also doing campaign planning and portfolio development, with PR, strategic management for PR and reputation crisis management. If you're on digital media, you'll be doing digital data insights and digital futures, and then in Marcoms, you'll be doing strategic marketing planning as well as marketing communication in action. So those are your core specialised units that you will be doing, and then you have choices, so you can choose two options from this list. This is the list that we're using at the moment. This year, it might change, in small details. Basically, by the time you get around to level 6, although it's probably going to look pretty similar. So these are then the series of choices that you can do, and we have things like behavioural economics. Don't worry, no numbers in that one really. Behavioural economics, promotion, power and democracy, relationship marketing, social media management, etc. So these are specialised things that you can choose then as one of your 2 options. Okay, so assessments across the programme, courseworks and exams. I mean, so it's a mixture of you might have 1 or 2 exams every year. Coursework ranges from things like essays to actually campaign plans, and campaign material and execution material for actual advertising campaigns or PR campaigns, solo presentations, group presentations. You might be asked to do vlogs or write blogs, etc. So there's quite a wide range of stuff that you might be asked to do in terms of coursework. When we do have exams, and as I said, not many units have exams. You might have 1 or 2 every year. Exams are usually held in January and May, and they last for about 2 to 3 hours each particular exam. The passing mark for undergraduate work, which is one that concerns you, obviously, is 40%, which is always nice to know. So generally, I mean, what I'd like to say is that kind of our programme, what makes our programme unique, I think, is that it provides high quality vocational education. So really focused on getting you a job in industry and giving you the tools for working well in industry with a strong academic framework. And that academic framework then allows you to be an innovator, to be looking forward rather than always being looking back or around you at what people are doing and copying it. You're looking forward. So you learn how, but you also learn why, and then why not. Okay, so that is the core of how we enable students to go out into the workplace, get good jobs, but then lead innovation within their professions. So developing a full critical awareness of the issues and challenges in the Marcoms professions, not just parroting back what people are doing, but rather thinking about why they're doing those things. Perhaps there are different ways of doing things, and developing a sense of curiosity, intellectual curiosity, that allows people then to build new processes and techniques. So we can see the woods for the trees, which is a nice picture. These are quotes from recent placement employers. So people, students have gone to their companies for placements, and they're saying things like, absolutely brilliant. The student made an enormous contribution to the team on a personal and professional basis, well above expectations, far exceeded our expectations. Within 3 months, I knew that we wanted to return at the end of a course, and that's quite common. People do a year in placement, and then after they graduate, they go back into their placement company because they've been so successful there. So we really have a really great reputation and relationship with our placement employers, because our students are so useful and contribute so well. So some of our recent graduates are now, right now working as customer loyalty managers for Rolls-Royce. Got someone working at Sales and Marketing University Talent Program, Coca-Cola, marketing executives at Swarovski, account executives at McCann Bristol, sales and marketing coordinator for Atlantis Marine. We got basically someone at Fujitsu UK as a business development manager. So we've got, a broad range of positions, and kind of our programs do prepare you for that kind of the flexibility that the modern work kind of environment is. So kind of marketing communication focus, marketing management focus, obviously, but still across quite a broad range of positions. Employability is one of our main concerns, and that's also why we've kind of got together with a number of the principal kind of institutions and associations, the professional associations for advertising, public relations and marketing. So our degrees do hold graduate gateway status by the Chartered Institute of Marketing, the CIM, which is the big UK marketing professional body. And so you're exempted from certain professional qualifications, and we also give you opportunities to go for CIM certificates as well within the degree. So you can, for example, sit for the CIM Foundation Certificate in Marketing in your first year, which a lot of students do. This year we had a tremendous number of students on it, and generally works very, very well. And so these are things that people who haven't done marketing or marketing communication in a university, then they'll often have to do when they're in in work, their employer will expect them to do these things, but you get to do it in your first year. And then in your second years, depending upon what particular specialisation you're going to go into, you can look at these different, you get these different possibilities for, again, professional body certificates. So you can do the next level CIM certificate if you're on the Marcoms degree. If you move into advertising, we've got the Institute Practitioners and Advertising Foundation certificate, so you can do that in your second year. If you're in the PR track, basically, you can do the Chartered Institute of Public Relations CIPR certificate. And if you're on the digital track, you can also do the Institute of Data and Marketing, the IDM certificate. So these are, again, more opportunities to increase your value to an employer. They give you knowledge, but they also give you that cachet as well, that you've got these kinds of professional certifications before you actually even leave with your degree. You get a lot of academic support with us throughout the 4 years. So, there are academic advisors, there are dedicated support teams. We have a peer-assisted learning scheme as well, which works very well, where, second years help out first years through their coursework and give them advice and that kind of stuff. So all along, you'll have really quite elaborate support networks to help you through the work that you're being done. And of course, you also got the Students' Union, which is there to provide specialist support service as well. This is the team as we stand at the moment. It's me at the top, and then we have Stuart, who's the Pathway Leader for Advertising, Sybil, who's the Pathway Leader for Digital, Tanya, who's a Pathway Leader for Public Relations, and Chanel, who's a Pathway Leader for Marcoms, the Marcoms Pathway. So there we go. That's stuff to remember. I'm sure you can read it there. I don't have the time to read it all out, unfortunately. Anyway, nice talking to you all, and I hope to see you at an event that we're putting on, or maybe just see you at induction in the first year. Cheers.